with us. How are you?
Hey, Sean, it's good to be on with you.
Unbelievable.
That was a murderer's row of appeasers that you had on just there.
Now, I want to wait a minute. Murderer's row of appeasers. I wish I thought of that. Damn, that's good, but it's sad. It's true.
Yeah, let me just paint a picture for your listeners, Sean. Imagine men in an undisclosed location with giant piles of euros and francs and rubles and other cold, hard cash, stacking it on pallets, wrapping it in shrink wrap. Then they load it on an unmarked airplane. They fly it across international borders, and they land in the dark of night and give it away. That may sound like a drug cartel or a terrorist organization, but that's what the Obama administration did with Iran in January, and when they paid $400 million in ransom for American hostages in violation of common sense and longstanding U.S. policy. And what has it given us? Of course, more American hostages, and who knows how much of that money has gone into the hands of groups like Hezbollah and Hamas.
Well, this makes Fast and Furious, where we gave guns to cartels and kidnappers and drug dealers. That looks like child's play, because we're talking about the country that has killed Americans both in Iraq and Afghanistan, that has been fomenting terror against our closest ally, or who was our closest ally until this guy became president, Israel. And they have been fighting proxy war after proxy war, even more recently, supporting the Houthis in Yemen, and they're battling the Sunnis in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they have been the number one state sponsor of terror. Now, if Obama and Susan Rice and John Kerry admit that this money is going to be sent to foment more terror, why would you even consider giving them a penny?
And how easy will it be for them with straight cash? It's important that all your listeners understand that. This is not a money transfer. This is not wired money. This is not even cashiers or traveler's checks. This is cold, hard cash given for ransom. Now, the Obama administration has said that it's not a ransom payment. However, what they say doesn't really matter. It's what the Ayatollahs believe, and the Ayatollahs clearly perceive it as ransom because they have said so publicly.
Well, they said it yesterday. They admitted yesterday, and by the way, Obama's so close to the Iranians, they're just mocking him.
And now the Obama administration will not even say if the hostages were released from Iran before the cash landed. That strongly suggests to me that, in fact, the hostages were not released until the Ayatollahs had their greedy little hands on that stack of $400 million.
Imagine the amount of damage. You add to that, $150 billion? You know, did you see the report last week that the Iranians, as a result of this idiotic deal that Hillary started and Obama followed through on, that they continue to spin their centrifuges, that probably this deal cut the time in half they could build a nuclear weapon in spite of what they told us?
And in addition to the vast nuclear infrastructure they still have that will put them on the path to a nuclear weapon, they've also continued their reign of terror throughout the Middle East in places, as you said, like Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, and they remain the worst state sponsor of terrorism. And this cash that we gave them in January, as just a small part of the $100 billion plus they received, will allow them to continue that aggressive, malign behavior even without the nuclear weapon that they're going to develop in the long run if we don't change our policy.
How can two people, meaning Obama and Hillary, be so wrong so often? I'll give you examples. Number one example about Mohammed Morsi. When after the Arab Spring, he takes over, former head of the Muslim Brotherhood, a known terrorist organization, once referring to the Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs. They gave that guy F-16s, tanks, and $1.5 billion taxpayer dollars. Then, of course, we see the mistake they made in Iraq. They never did anything on the red line in Syria. Then you look at every other mistake that they have made in the Iranian case, $150 billion to the number one state sponsor of terror. They thought ISIS was the JV team, that they were contained. They're doing a good job. How can you be so wrong so often? How?
And Sean, you didn't even mention the fact of the very ill-considered and hasty, wrong-headed intervention in Libya in 2011, which turned that country into a chaotic war zone where the most capable and developed ISIS cell outside of Syria is currently operating, so much so that we had to conduct airstrikes just a few days there. President Obama, Vice President Biden, Secretary Clinton just have a deeply flawed worldview. They think that the United States is the cause of much of the troubles in the world, that if we would simply pull in our horns and be more respectful of our adversaries who still chant death to America today, then those adversaries would recognize that there is a new way of looking at the world in Washington. Well, they recognize that, but they're taking advantage of it. They're not pulling in their horns. They're doing the opposite, as always happens when you appease aggressive dictators and terrorists.
What do you make of the election? What do you make of Donald Trump versus Hillary?
Well, I'm confident that America will be safer and more prosperous with a Republican president and a Republican Congress. That's why I'm working hard.
Can I ask a question? What the hell is wrong with some of your colleagues? What is wrong with these people? Do they not realize? Did they not look at Trump's list of Supreme Court justices he would appoint? Have they not listened to the idea that we need to build a wall for national security? Did they not hear Hillary say she's going to put coal miners out of work and coal mining businesses out of business? Do they not think it's a good time to get rid of Obamacare? What the hell is wrong with some of these people?
Yeah, I mean, and again, Sean, there's other things.
By the way, don't you like I'm very, very subtle in my questioning? Go ahead.
Well, no, but the list you just cited, you could add more to that as well. We passed an Obamacare repeal bill earlier this year. Donald Trump will sign it. Hillary Clinton will veto it. If we pass a defense budget that substantially increases our defense budget, Donald Trump will sign it. Hillary Clinton will veto it. Those are simple facts. They can't be disputed. Now, I wish, like many other Republicans and independents, that Donald Trump would focus on those issues and not go off on tangents that the American people.
All right, let's say that's a fair criticism. Really? Okay, what about Hillary devoting an entire night to Black Lives Matter, a group we had on tape that very same week saying, you white people get in the back and blah, blah, blah. And a group that says, what do we want dead cops? When do we want them now?
Yeah, or Sunday morning. Look, she did an interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News, and she said that FBI Director Jim Comey said everything she had said about her email server was truthful. That's the opposite of what he said. She lied about that. She lied about the lies that she told about her server. I mean, that is just the pattern of Hillary Clinton's public record, is that she cannot be trusted. She does not have the integrity to be the president, and that her policies would make this country less prosperous and less safe, exactly the way Barack Obama has for the last 8 years.
It's just amazing to me, and I've said this many, many times before. I can't for the life of me understand why she's even close in this race. I mean, imagine that Donald Trump was caught lying about an email server scandal that we know is compromised. And James Comey, the FBI director, lays out the case that she lied in front of Trey Gowdy, who I thought did a great job in questioning the FBI director. And then still people say she's honest and truthful. I can't believe anybody thinks that. And that anybody thinks that somebody, if you have 66% of the American people thinking you're a liar, dishonest, untrustworthy, how you're even competing is somewhat a mystery to me. Maybe I don't know as much as I think I know.
Yeah, well, the facts are what they are with Hillary Clinton. Jim Comey laid out in very specific detail, both in his statement at the FBI and in the questioning by congressmen like Trey Gowdy, that there's just no doubt that Hillary Clinton endangered our national security and then lied about it. And just most recently, she lied about telling the lies, and the American people simply don't trust her. And if we would focus on Hillary Clinton's problems, we would focus on the problems that the Obama-Clinton policies have created for this country, I think we'd be successful in November.
You were a former soldier. What did you think about the lies over Benghazi? She was telling the Libyan president, Egyptian prime minister, her own daughter one story, and we, the American people, and the families that lost loved ones, a whole different story.
It's appalling, Sean. Between my tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, I served at the Old Guard at Arlington National Cemetery. Part of our job was to fly to Dover Air Force Base to perform the repatriation ceremony for American soldiers who had been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the degree of care and professionalism that my soldiers had in conducting that ceremony would make every American proud. By contrast, Hillary Clinton stood at the repatriation ceremony at Andrews Air Force Base with the families of the 4 men killed in Benghazi, and she lied to their faces for political gain. I don't see how anyone can trust her to be our commander-in-chief.
Well, I got to give you some personal credit because I'm really disappointed in some of your colleagues. I'm really disappointed in some House Republicans. I'm really I would argue that Republican weakness has created an opening for somebody like Donald Trump, an insurgent, an outsider. And then they seem to be more critical of him than they are Obama and Hillary. And you have not been one of those people. And I give you credit. And I'm really pissed off at the other ones.
Well, I appreciate it.
Some of these people won't even take my call anymore because I call them out on their BS. I'm sick of it. I really am. It's like they want to lose. I don't want to lose. I don't want the country in her hands We have millions more in poverty on food stamps, a doubling of the debt. The world's a mess, and we're going to go give it to her? This is not good for the country. Anyway,
No.
Senator Cotton, you're a good guy. I know you're going to get crap for being on the show. Thank you.
No, glad to do it.
All right, man.
Great.
800-941-SEAN, our number. You know, these